obviously go to Penn State this weekend. We've had very competitive games here with them over the course of time. And should be another great one, great atmosphere there, another Big Ten game, Big Ten East Division game, so it's obviously big. As far as where we're at right now, you know, from my perspective, I'm sure all of your perspective, feel like we should be 5-0. My message to our players is play like it. Play like we're 5-0. Keep the same mindset as we go forward. Concerned about when I talk to our players in the situation that we're in, having lost a tough game like that, first thing I'm always concerned about is how they are physically. What's their physical health? You know, obviously we're banged up a little bit, but we'll get guys back, you know, as we move forward here during the season. You know, not going to answer questions when or where or what, but we'll get guys back. And then probably just as importantly, I'm concerned about our mental health when we come off a tough loss. So my focus has always been on big picture things. So when I look at our football team, I ask myself, you know, where are they at in terms of away from football? How are they doing? You know, for myself, it's my faith. For myself and for my football players, it's family, personal safety. You know, with their family, personal health. We've had 2 guys lose grandparents this past week, so it's tough. We've got guys going to funerals and things of that nature, so I'm concerned about those things. I'm concerned about our football program in general, where we're at, the chemistry, the mindset as we move forward. I think it's healthy. I think it's extremely healthy. We've won a lot of football games here, and our attitude is very, very good. I'm concerned about our players, how they're doing in school, socially, obviously socially, school, and then what's going on in their daily lives. And I try to touch our players as much as I can. And then I look at every single game that we're playing and focus on that one game that particular week, and then move on and move forward. And that's what we do. So that's where we've been. You know, games hang right now, you know, they hang on inches. You know, I can't sit here and say, certainly there's a lot of frustration. You know, we don't expect to lose. We haven't lost a great deal here. We've won 2/3 of the time probably here. We're over 2/3 of the time. But so it's frustrating when you come up with a game you feel like you should have won and it slips away from you. And it's all, there's a lot of different reasons why that happens. Some offense, some defense, some special teams, some coaching, some players, some execution. Those are the type of things that happen on a football field. But we're going to move forward, and we're going to move forward with a sense of purpose. And with that, I'll just take some questions and sort of go from there.
Mark, after the game on Saturday, Joe had said basically you're just going to confront people as a leader and basically step up, or if you don't want to be here, you don't want to win, get out. What was the attitude like at practice yesterday from him?
Very, very good attitude. And you know, I talked to Joe about that, and I think he feels like, I mean, collectively we talked as a leadership group on Sunday. Our players are, I think, in a very, you know, it's frustrating. And I think you see frustration when you, you got a question? I think you see frustration when, after a game like that. You know, so we don't have an attitude problem on our football team. We have an excellent attitude. We go out and we work every single practice. Our guys are focused on what they need to do, and there's good atmosphere and good intention. So, as a leader, I think, you know, as I said to our football team, you know, when you are a leader, when you're the head coach, or when you're the coordinator, or when you're the assistant coach, or when you're the leader, captain, sometimes you got to be more demanding. So that's a part of it, and you know, looking for a response, and that's what we all do.
Mark, looking at this big picture with the guys that you have playing right now, there are a lot of young guys.
Yeah,
I guess, how do you get them to build their leadership on the fly like this?
I think experience is a great. Well, I don't know. You know, when you have game experience, obviously it's a big positive for you. And the only way you get that is by playing early in your career, or playing at some point in time. So we have 2 redshirt freshmen playing at guard last week after the second play. So, you know, obviously there's some issues that took place, but they get a chance to watch themselves, see themselves, and come back. And every time you come back from something, every time you bounce back from something, you usually bounce back a little bit stronger. That's human nature in general, I think. So they'll be ready to play. We'll have other opportunities to move people around and make that a better situation as well.
Mark, your rush defense is putting up historic numbers, ranked first in the nation by a wide margin. Your pass defense is 122nd out of 129. It was a very good pass defense a year ago. To what do you explain that discrepancy? What's the reason, that wide gap between how you defend the run, how you defend the pass?
Sure. First of all, when we're averaging, people are averaging throwing the ball 54 times a game against us. So when you look at that and you're trying to say per attempt, what I've always thought was per attempt you want to be less than 5 yards per attempt. So 2 of the games we actually accomplished that. The other games we did not. The answer for that is probably you know, they've hit some deep balls on us where deep ball judgment comes into play. And again, I go back to it's a game of inches. The difference between Trey Person making the play on the deep route is this far. Same with Tyreek Thompson, this far. Same with Justin Lane, this far against Arizona State. So they've gone up top. You know, we've lost 3 corners. Well, we've lost 2 corners in Josiah Scott and Tyson Smith, who play a lot for us. And, you know, Josh Butler played in and out of the game this past weekend. So that's probably hurt us a little bit in that regard. I think in this day and age, I saw where, you know, the stats about, you know, there are all kinds of stats. You can look at stats and you can make them what you want. I say to our guys, hey, we're playing very well against the run. Well, how are we playing against the perimeter pass? Which is bubbles and jailbreak screens and things like that, because I got to throw that into the run game, because that's how people are running the ball against us to some regard. So we look at that aspect and ask ourselves how we're playing, and we work at it. So there's a lot of different statistics there. You know, the number one statistic, you know, the thing that I have to hang our hat on is, do we win or do we lose? And at the end of the day, you know, we're a 3-2 football team, and I feel like, you know, we had opportunities to win those other 2 and did not. A lot of reasons for that. Got 5 guys out on offense, you know, these past couple games. So that takes a toll on you a little bit, but we'll get them back. So we've got to wait on it.
Mark, you're beaten up, and you're coming off a loss, and you're going into a snake pit, and nobody thinks you can win. Is there a galvanizing effect going on the road has in an environment like this?
I think there is. You know, I think it's. I think you got to play away games in this conference, and you got to look forward to playing away. That's a great atmosphere over there. We've gone over there and we've won before. I think it's fun. I think if you play at home all the time, you know, if you play away all the time, you know, those type of things become redundant a little bit. I think when you go away and you play in a different environment, I think it takes on a little bit different mentality for your football team. It's a little bit us against the world type of mentality, so it'll serve us well. Got to go over and play well. We'll have our opportunities, though.
Right here in the middle. You talked about Saturday and Sunday taking a look at the offensive line with who's there and who's not, and who's playing well and who's not. We got a new offensive line starting at least on the depth chart. What went into this 5 that we see on the depth chart, and as you go, you know, with still a week full of practices left, are you confident that that's the 5 that will start the game, I guess, on Saturday?
Yeah, Cole Chewins, I think, is back healthier now, so that allows us to put him at left tackle. Allows us to move Tyler Higbee into left guard, which is where he played, you know, predominantly last year. You know, the center is Matt Allen, right guard Blake Buter. Comes back with his second start. You know, Luke Campbell has been a starter long term. He needs to play a little bit more effectively, a little bit more on balance, but he has experience, and I expect him to play a lot of football. Our right tackle, Jordan Reed's playing pretty well. Got to protect the quarterback. Got to find a way to run the football. There's no question about that. So on it goes.
Mark, over here, along those lines, when you've got an offensive line that you've seen through 5 games, has its limitations, and you run a pro-style offense where, as you say, you got to be able to run the football, what can you reasonably do in the middle of the season without, obviously you're not going to change the scheme of your entire offense, to have more, you know, to have more punch, I guess?
Well, that's the challenge for every coach, you know, and for every player. You know, a lot of times, like I've said, you know, especially on the offensive line, and I can point to numerous offensive lines across this country that aren't playing very well together. All you got to do is put the tape on and watch them. However, at some point in time, a back breaks a run or something like that and gets to the second level. So it's all inclusive. Maybe it's a wide receiver block that springs it back, maybe it's the running back itself, breaks the tackle, runs through it, or maybe it's the offensive line that gives that becomes a greater opportunity, or maybe it's the execution or the play concept. So we'll keep pushing it. We'll keep, when we came here in 2007, the one thing that I said is, hey, we're going to run the football. We have to run the football. I still believe that, and we got to find ways to do that. And so we work extremely hard on that, 80 hours a week, and we work on it in practice, and it's got to come at some point in time. It will come.
Mark, you're right. You're kind of piggyback off that a little bit. Is saying you want to do it, in whether it's the offensive line or it's receivers, however it breaks down. Is there a certain point in a season where you realize it's simply not happening this way? We need to make a shift. Is that something you can do in season?
Yeah, we have a lot of concepts that we can use, and we can pare down those concepts and create different things formationally and things like everybody can. Everybody can change things as they go. They can use different formations, different concepts, and until you find the right one, I guess, that fits your personnel as best you can. And so we'll continue to move it in that direction and keep pounding the rock. We'll keep working at it. The formula for success here has been, if you can run it 40 times, I don't care if you get 120 yards, or 130 yards, or 140 yards, or 240. If you can run it 40 times, you got a pretty good chance to win. That's been our success. That's been one of the things that I say, hey, run the ball. Now, if you throw it 60 times, there's a good chance we may have 300 yards. As evidence, I see the statistics about Northwestern. Does everyone know that we threw the ball the last 3 games against Northwestern for 1,200 yards, but we didn't win the game? So you got to be able to run the football to some degree, especially when the yardage gets short, or when you're in situations that demands that you've got to be able to run the ball. So we're going to figure out a way to do that, and that's our challenges.
Mark, you guys scored a touchdown in a reverse last game. I know you thought you also came close to breaking a big play on a trick play earlier in the game. What sort of goes into deciding when those will be most useful? Is it something the defense is showing you? You're trying to create start offensively?
I think what goes into deciding that is you got to catch people off guard. So you really don't want to tell people anything. Sometimes it's after a big play, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's in the middle of the series, sometimes it's not. I think it's sort of just rolling the dice a little bit. Everybody has probably a philosophy on when they want to do it, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. Sort of like a trick play. On special teams. Right.
Mark, following up on what Noah just said, in both your conference games, you've had a wide receiver rush for more than half of your yards. Have you ever seen that before, and what does that mean to you?
Well, it's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating. But at the end of the day, it's about moving the football too. And in this day and age, football, you see a lot of wide receiver, type plays. Even the little jet sweep where you toss the ball up in the air is supposedly designated a pass, but it's a run. From my perspective, it's a perimeter run type thing. So, but yeah, we got, as I said earlier, we got to get LJ's been out, had 2 other tailbacks working, or 3, so we've got to find a way to run the football. And I don't think that's earth-shattering. I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag there, am I? I don't think. I think Penn State's aware of that. So we'll go with that. It's a good thing you got that picture of me smiling.
Sorely, obviously, dual threat guy, averaging almost 90 yards a game.
Yeah, let's talk about Penn State.
You guys were affected in slowing him down on the ground last year. I know he threw for a good number of yards, but how do you contain him and make him so he's one-dimensional and not getting both ways?
I think McSorley's an excellent player. He buys time. He's going to scramble. He's going to launch it. They're going to throw the ball down the field. Their average attempt is 13.8 yards down the field. That's their average attempt. So their ball is going down the field for them. They have big play receivers. They have an excellent running back. Got 4 of their 5 offensive linemen back. So they're a challenge offensively, and he creates that dynamic, that multiple, run pass guy, type of quarterback, and he's got a toughness aspect to him too. So I think he's an excellent player, a great leader, and a lot of things, their success hinges on what he does. So we need to negate his abilities as best we can.
Mark, looking at everything that you guys have, so from day one, when you start having those injuries with Josiah and Coles, and to now, where does this challenge rank in terms of what you guys as a staff have had to maybe shuffle or endure during a season?
Well, you mean relative to other years?
Yeah.
I've never really, I look at the year as in its totality at the end of the year. I imagine this is as many early injuries as we've had in those times, but at the end of the year, how do we come out? We've really not had that many season-ending injuries. I think Jake Hartberger is probably the only one that I would say. So we're getting guys back, and we'll get them back, but you guys got to deal with, it's sort of like, I come up here all the time, guys, and stand up here and get grilled. I asked if the Sharks were in the water today or the Wolves were at the door. I wasn't sure which. But, you're dealing with life issues. Sometimes things don't go well for you. Whether you're in a corporation or whether you're in a relationship or whatever it is, sometimes things don't go well and you have to improvise and you have to change up things, but you can make it work. If you have good people, and we have good people. We have good people on our football team, and we have great people on our staff. And we have a long track record of success. And if you have that, then you can always flip it, and you can always turn things and get things going in the right direction. And that's my belief system. So,
just kind of as a follow-up to that, is Jake done?
That's a pretty good answer.
Yeah, it is a great answer. Is Jake done for the year, though? You guys kind of mentioned that. Has that changed from previously?
Jake is, in all general purposes, I believe, done for the year, because I think to throw your right leg up in the air when it's been broken is probably a little bit of an issue, from a confidence standpoint.
Can you get?
So we can get a red shirt on him, a medical red shirt on him, for him to be able to punt next year. So, and that's the intent right now. Unless something drastically changes, that's the intent. And he knows that, and I've talked to his family about that, so that's pretty much where it's at.
2 questions, I'll ask them one at a time. The first, in the past, when you were not happy with your offense, you did get very involved. Are you anticipating more involvement on your part? I know Sunday night you said, hey, I'm a defensive coach, but are you anticipating more involvement like in the past with your offense? I've
always been involved to a certain extent, to sit there and say, what about this, what about that, can we do this, can we do that, draw something on the board, tell them, hey, we need to put this in, and those type of things. But you basically, like I said, you have formation sheets that are very in-depth, and you can't recreate the wheel. Even if you said, hey, we're going to change next year to something, it's very difficult to recreate the wheel. What you do have is you have a vast library to go back to and say, okay, how can we tweak this or tweak that to help generate some productivity in certain areas. I'd say that's it. And that's what I do. I always look at the quality control and different components of quality control and ask, okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing there? Are we doing these things here, which are, from a defensive standpoint, recognizable? Do we change here? Do we change there? That's the way I've always done it. And I got to go back to not going to micromanage. Maybe my coaches will say I do. Okay, but I'm going to try not to micromanage. I'm going to try and empower our coaches to do their job and allow them to do their job with confidence. So I'm not going to be in a threatening mode. I'm just not. It's not going to be who I am. Allow them to do their work, and I'm going to believe in them and push it forward. That's what I've done. And it's served us well.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier that since you've gotten here, the motto has been, you have to run the ball. You come from Nick Saban's tree where he certainly holds that philosophy, but this year it's been different at Alabama. And he said on Saturday, he's just come to the point he's learned there's no more points for running and passing, and if he can't run, he's going to throw it. Obviously you still want to run, but does there need to be a shift when you can't?
I think there has been a shift when we can. I think we're throwing now more than we have. And I try and take that and say, hey, we got to run it. At the Indiana game, I said, hey, we got to run the ball. Even though we ran for, 140 or something, we ran the ball somewhat. Even if it's, we got to keep people honest. can't allow it to go into just a pass rush game like it did at the end of the game last week. We have to keep it honest because we have limitations in other areas too. You know, we're down some wideouts, we're down some offensive linemen, you know. I mean, it's, you know, you're trying to balance things a little bit, so. But we'll be all right. I have confidence in our football team. I have confidence in our drive and who we are as individuals and how we approach things.
You got time to put more Ryan in
Coach, in the past, kind of following up on that, you've had Burbridge and Lippett and Fowler, very good receivers, but with what Felton Davis did, he was a real turning point for you in that third quarter. The rush for the touchdown, the fade for the touchdown, and kind of building on what Hondo just said, is there a way to incorporate him in the offense, maintaining the balance you're talking about, getting those 40 rushes, but making the most out of a guy that is prevailing as your top talent on offense?
Yeah, you know, we're going to target, obviously, again, we're going to target guys. We're going to get the ball to people that we need to get the ball to. And I thought we did a great job last week saying, okay, here's Felton, we're missing this guy or that guy, and let's get the ball to him a little bit more. We always have done that. And we always will continue to do that, find ways, and every football team tries to find ways. Saquon Barkley, how are we going to get the ball to him 30 times? You know, so we go into every football game and say, how are we going to get the ball to this individual X number of times? You know, we've got to have more playmakers to do that with, and we're going to try and find those guys as we go forward. You know, and I think we have playmakers, but they got to get back healthy. And we have some other guys too.
Oh, you're not going to point fingers, but Brian doesn't seem to be in the rhythm he was last year. Are those circumstances a big part of it, or is there something he needs to do to get his mojo back?
Well, I think that it's, again, I think when you look at that, you're saying, you know, why? If he's not in his rhythm, why? Well, maybe a defensive tackle's right here. That has a lot to do with it, okay? So we've got to protect the quarterback. We've got to give him time to throw. There's some different things that we can do to help with that. We have to do those things. And we got to get him in rhythm. And, you know, when you look at that football game, if you really watch the film, you know, he made some unbelievable throws. Right on the money throws. And he made, you know, he played pretty well. It got sort of, like I said, the frustrating thing for me as the head football coach, if we would have went down the field and not scored in the game, or even got to the 30 and not scored in the game at the end of the game, okay, you just live with it. But the way things sort of fell apart those last the two previous series before the 2-minute drive, you know, that was what was frustrating because it didn't give us a chance to be successful because the guy was sitting right back in our lap and he's ditching the ball, and that just looks like we're not, you know, we're not playing on one cylinder, let alone all cylinders, and that's frustrating. And that's what I was most frustrated with about that football game. Really, those two series. I can't control about the pitch. I can't control about, you know, a guy getting, you know, walking over somebody with his leg up in the air, and getting called for taunting. I can't control those things. I got to play through those things. We have to play through those things. But the things you can't control are the things that frustrate you. So that's what we deal with.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.